welcome to the Pikeville City Managers Report. I'm your host, Jill Farley-Johnson. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2019. Philip Ellswick, City Manager, joins me for the first time this year, so
Absolutely.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year.
We had a tremendous 2018 in the city of Pikeville with so many different businesses and events and everything that came to the city. We talk about the growth, and it just continues to expand. So we're going to kind of recap some of the things that happened last year and look forward to some of the new opportunities in the new year. But the first thing that we want to talk about is our new commission. We have several returning commissioners to the City Commission this term, one new commissioner. So let's go over our current commission now for 2019.
Well, of course, Mayor Carter will be returning. He had no opposition in the election. So, and then Commissioner Bob Shurtleff and Steve Hartsock and Pat McNamee were reelected. And Commissioner Allison Powers was elected. She's been sworn in, and she's on the job now.
She is on the job. And coming up in the next couple of weeks, we will have sit-down conversations with each of our commissioners to see what their goals are for this term, and certainly get to know Commissioner Powers just a little bit better and see what she has in mind for her service.
She has some big ideas for different things in the city, and good ideas. So.
I think one of the things about our commission is each commissioner brings something different to the table and a host of ideas that they have. So I think it's a good fit, and looking forward to see what each of them have in store. Yes. Let's talk about our audit. I know that's something we always talk about, is the transparency of city government and the commission. So I'm going to let you highlight a few things there.
Yeah, our audit was recently completed. We have to have that done before the end of each calendar year. And of course, it was a clean audit. The auditor found no problems. Everything was in order and documented. But interesting thing about the audit was our occupational and net profit tax exceeded $10 million for the first time in history. And that occupational tax has continued to grow annually, thankfully. And, you know, there's always, you think there's going to come a time that it maybe doesn't grow because of a downturn in the economy, but we've been very blessed, and it continues to grow, which allows us to do a lot of things, you know, things that we otherwise wouldn't have funding to do. It allows us to keep our property taxes low, so because we have this other funding source. So we're excited about that, and that continued growth. It just demonstrates the vitality of our economy and how it continues to get better each year. And then also, we started this fiscal year with a $1.8 million surplus. So it's always good to have a rainy day fund.
Right.
So.
Always good to have a little thing to look back on if you need to, some funding there.
That's right.
Our Pikeville Police Department last year, you know, saw one of the most tragic events in its history, but it is rebounding well, and guys and gals are still on the job, and we have some new positions.
We do. A few months ago, we talked about downtown parking and the issue that creates for businesses and folks visiting the downtown area. So the commission chose to hire a full-time traffic control officer that his sole job is to patrol the parking areas downtown, write tickets for violations of our parking regulations in an effort to improve the parking situation and have more parking available for the downtown businesses. So he has started work. You'll see him out every day between 8 and 5, writing parking tickets and just ensuring people are following the rules. And you know, the goal is not to write tickets. The goal is to ensure that people follow our regulations and that there is parking available when people need it. So I've seen him around town a number of times already. So
I hope I never run into him.
Me too. Yeah.
As long as we all follow the rules.
That's right.
We certainly won't. But now you're also advertising for a new patrolman position.
We are. We recently had an opening in our department, and the commission has chosen to fill that position. We'll be seeking applications from both certified officers, which are people that have already been to the academy and passed all those steps, and non-certified individuals that are interested. You know, we have a full staff of officers now, or sufficient staff to provide all the patrol that we need and provide all the services, respond to calls. So we're going to take our time with this to find the perfect person for that job and look at a wide range of applicants. So that should be that'll be posted in the coming weeks, and then we'll begin that process, which it's a lengthy process to hire a new police officer.
It certainly is a lot of different rules and regulations and steps that have to be
It
met
is.
before the hiring process
right.
begins. Jenny Wiley Theater, one of our favorite gems of downtown, and certainly the new mural is up on the front. I don't know if it's completely finished
It is.
or it is completely finished. So we have the front and the back murals, always an attraction. But they have some new staffing as well.
Right. A few months ago, the theater went through a reorganization process, and they've recently hired a new executive director. Her name is Robin Irwin, and she comes from New Jersey. And she is in Pikeville working, and I've met with her. We're going to be meeting with her further with the commission to talk about the things that we would like to see the theater do and how it can add to the community and the downtown area, because it's really a gem in the area, like you said, that can be so instrumental in our further development, especially after hours in the evenings, and support our businesses and restaurants that are downtown. So she has a great attitude and a lot of good ideas, and so we're excited for her to get here and get to work.
Yeah, Jenny Wiley Theater has just a host of opportunities, not just for shows, but also dinner shows and theaters.
Right.
And it's a really unique, I guess, landscape or piece of real estate to have in a downtown area.
It is.
And where we have evolved over the last few years is certainly a walkability type town. It certainly lends itself to a host of different opportunities.
It does, and there's so many shows out there that don't want to go to the Expo. I mean, the Expo seats 7,000 people, and that's not appropriate for every show. And Jenny Wiley Theater seats 150 to 200 people, which is perfect for those smaller shows and allows you to do a lot of things you would otherwise not be able to do. So we're excited to see what Robin brings to the table and her plans.
So much more of an intimate venue
Very much
than
so.
the larger arena that we have and are thankful, obviously,
Absolutely.
to have. There also, something that we're working on are grants for programs to feed homeless and impoverished families.
Yeah, last year the commission chose to support some programs in town that were feeding the homeless or impoverished individuals. And there is a homeless population around Pikeville, sadly, and these programs, their goal is to provide for those people and really help them. So the commission has chosen to renew those grants. Not really renew, but to seek new proposals for grants and then choose recipients for those grants. It may be the same groups, it may be different groups. But we felt like that was a very good way to give back to the community, to support a population in our community that really needs some help. So we'll be reviewing those proposals in the next few weeks and issuing those grants.
Also, let's talk about the WestCare Homeless Shelter for a moment. A grant for that is underway.
Yeah, the homeless shelter is in a very old building on the bypass, and it was in need of some repair. And after meeting with the director, we identified a need, obviously, and the commission chose to give them a grant of $10,000 to help with some construction that needs to be done, some repairs and renovation, which will allow them to hopefully expand and have more beds and house more people. So in addition to that $10,000 grant, the city has authorized an additional grant of $5,000 if WestCare is able to match that. So it could be a total of $20,000 of grant funds coming into their facility. So we're excited about that for them.
And certainly should be. Like you said, we do have a homeless population in Pikeville and Pike County, and it's not something that a lot of people want to think about, but certainly we are no different than any other, even a larger city, having the issue there. Maybe ours is just on a smaller level, but it still exists.
It does. And, talking to the director, there's a number of different ways people become homeless, and some of them are just heartbreaking. And really, trying to help those people get back on their feet. And WestCare has a great mission to really get them back into society in a productive manner. So we're very glad to be able to support that.
Yeah, wonderful cause there. Let's just really focus on 2018, the year in review. We talk a lot about, and we see all kinds of year in review shows, but when you look back at everything that has happened since January 1 last year, it really is amazing to see
It is.
How things have changed, how things have evolved, how we've been able to open new businesses and new lands that we have been looking forward to. So let's start on the economic development side with Interblue, Silverliner, App Harvest, World Rotten, there's all kinds of things.
There is. Last year in December of 2017 is when Interblue announced the selection of Pikeville. And there's been a lot happening behind the scenes with Interblue that is not obvious to the general public. There's no construction going on, but there are plans. I'm intimately involved with their design process for their building, meet with them routinely, and that project will be beginning, their building phase, a 60,000 square foot building will be beginning early this year, probably in February. So just rest assured, Interblue is coming to Pikeville.
Coming.
And a number of their executives have stayed engaged in our community, speaking to the Rotary Club or UPike business colleges. So, they are maintaining a presence to give people reassurance as well. So Interblue is coming, and it should begin construction here shortly.
One that we talked about coming, and one that is certainly, their building's almost complete, is Silverliner.
Silverliner's building is coming very close to completion. We completed some paving there in early December, which will allow them to immediately go into production. Without that paving, it would have been difficult for them to do that. But they will begin production on that site early this year, hopefully early in the first quarter. So that's a great tenant for our industrial park, and we're excited for them to be there.
App Harvest was something that we talked about for a long time. Went through a number of changes at the end of last year, so let's update everybody there.
Yeah, App Harvest was a project that came about a couple of years ago, and with a lot of great ideas, a very visionary greenhouse structure, but it met some obstacles and continued to get downsized, and the commission had laid out a plan for these hurdles that had to be met or milestones that had to be met, and App Harvest was struggling to meet those. So we had an option to lease that was extended to them late last year without response. So the commission had rescinded that, and App Harvest unfortunately will not be located in the industrial park. However, they according to their CEO, Jonathan Webb, maintain a presence in Pikeville. They're involved with UPike. And App Harvest is a good project, and it will happen somewhere, but it just didn't happen in Pikeville.
Now, with them not locating in the industrial park now, that frees up that space
It
for
does free
another
up,
business.
It does free up that space. There are companies that are interested in that. I've talked to a number of them, and there will not be a problem filling that acreage.
Right. One of our new businesses that we opened this year was Spoiled Rotten Children's Boutique that located in our historic York House.
Yeah, the city has a number of business incubation spaces that we talk about frequently. And one of those is the York House on Main Street. And after going through a proposal process, Spoiled Rotten was chosen to house that, to be in that building. And it's really in a good location for a children's boutique. It's been a good addition to our downtown area, and we hope that it becomes a flourishing business.
Yeah, it's a neat place. I frequent there often. Something coming now, and I guess we could announce now, is Carbon Coffee.
Yes, that's in the building where Roasted was for several years. And after going through another proposal process, the commission, out of 11 proposals, chose Carbon Coffee as the recipient of that lease. So that lease has been executed, and they'll be beginning their construction and renovation there shortly. One change, it's a coffee shop, pastries, lunch, things of that nature. But one change from our previous coffee shop is that the outdoor area between that building and my office, the Office for Economic Development, is part of their lease. And they'll be enclosing that area and have outdoor seating areas, fire pits, just a gathering place for the community. So we really are looking forward to that and seeing how that changes things.
That's going to be really interesting to see how that section of Hayley Boulevard, from Dueling Barrels all the way down to the coffee shop now, really has taken on a totally different look in the last
It
year.
has. It really has changed drastically. So.
Well, that'll be exciting.
It
and
will.
I'm certain will be heavily attended. I mentioned Dueling Barrels. We finally got to open that. Ribbon cutting was held on June 27th, and it has really been a destination point for not only people here, but people in surrounding areas, different states. It's the head or the beginning of the Bourbon Trail now.
It is.
So really exciting to have them finally getting underway.
It is. That project had been under construction for some time, and we were excited to get that opened in June of this year. From my understanding, they're doing very well, and I routinely see groups of people in the distillery for the tours and people going in and out of the building. So it's been a good addition, like you said.
You know, what I often see as I'm traveling down Hamlin, just during the day or even in the early evening hours, are people standing outside of the distillery on the Hayley Boulevard side looking at the big, just the massive construction that it is, and really admiring that work.
It is, and it's a beautiful building. I mean, it really changed the landscape there of the boulevard and 2nd Street. Really added some character to it. And another good thing about Dueling Barrels is its parent company, Audit, is a great community partner.
Yeah, and they're going to, as part of their expanding phases, will be opening up Pierce's Place coming up probably in 2019 sometime, which will be a great addition.
It will.
For lunch and dinner in the downtown area. Julius Avenue has undergone some redevelopment and rezoning, not only for housing and for businesses, which is just another addition to that area.
Yeah, the city owns some property on Julius Avenue that we recently advertised for bids and proposals. And the proposal that was selected was a redevelopment. Essentially, the individual owned the property next door, wanted to demolish that structure and take air vacant lot and create an apartment complex. Well, that's a good change for Julius Avenue, but unfortunately the zoning as it was wouldn't allow that. So we went through a rezoning process to change that from just a single and 2-family dwelling zoning to a multifamily dwelling structure that allows any type of housing to occupy Julius Avenue. So that project hopefully will be beginning shortly. We're excited to see how that begins to change Julius Avenue, and if it prompts other development and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's interesting to see too how one side of Hayley Boulevard has undergone a lot of construction, a lot of changes. Now it seems the other side is starting to follow suit, especially with U-Pike and the opening of the new school there. All of that side is beginning to change too, and Julius Avenue obviously included.
Well, Julius Avenue's proximity to the college makes it an attractive place for developers. So we, like you say, that side of the boulevard is beginning to change.
That's right. Infrastructure and facilities, something that a lot of our different places have gone through some changes. The mini park is something that we've talked a lot about because it was in desperate need of upgrading.
It was.
And that has now happened.
It has. The mini park was a little behind the times, I suppose, and the commission has chosen to renovate that playground, replace the equipment, add some handicap accessible equipment. We remodeled the restrooms on that site that also serves the farmers market and the pavilion to make them handicap accessible. So that project is still ongoing. There was a problem with delivery of some of that playground equipment, but should be here in the near future, and that project will wrap up. So
just in time for spring.
And that's the project that we engaged the children at Pikeville Elementary School, and had a lot of great ideas. I mean, things that I would never think of. So it was a great
I think
idea.
it was just genius to go to them, to ask them what they want, because obviously they're the ones that are going to use it. But it was so interesting to see some of their drawings how their drawings really just grew and came to life with the equipment that was ordered. So they really definitely have ownership in that.
They do.
In that section of town, and certainly of the mini park. And those that attend any event at the athletic complex know that if you have kids, you end up on that side.
Right. That's right.
You do end up on that side. Fiber to premise, radio read meters, those are things that really took a lot of time but are now in place.
They did. The fiber project is something we've been working on for a long time, but we made significant progress in 2018, and I firmly believe you'll begin to see that construction and the fruits of those efforts in 2019. The radio read meters is a project that will improve the accuracy of our meter reading, will allow us to know if there's leaks before we read the meters the next month. So it was a project that needed to happen. It's still ongoing. It's about 75 to 80% complete, but it's been a good change for our utility department.
And will continue to be. Let's quickly update folks on the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant. Certainly those are things that we always talk about because it's such a needed part of our community and the viability of our community.
Yeah, those two projects are critically important to our continued economic development. The wastewater treatment plant is totally changing the technology and will be a entirely different plant when it's complete. And we're more than 50% through that construction period. It's going very well. The plant continues to function and operate even during the construction. So that's a testament to UMG and their operations and also our contractor that's doing that job. But the water treatment plant is also undergoing some upgrades to increase its capacity to produce water. So the river crossing has been completed. Now we're working on installing some pumps that allow that plant to operate at its maximum capacity.
We've talked a lot about, we had street paving and striping that needed to be done. Obviously, those have been completed. We've worked on sidewalk repairs. One thing we do want to mention to everyone, too, is the emergency management and 911 relocation that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, our 911 dispatch emergency management center has always been in the police department in a small portion of the police department. And it has really outgrown that space. So the city is taking a building adjacent to City Hall that was previously a gas station years ago and has really just kind of turned into a storage area for us. We're repurposing that into our new emergency management dispatch center, which will allow that department to continue to grow as the city does. As the city grows, there's more emergency calls, more need for dispatchers to be on staff and working. So that will allow us to have growth for a significant time into the future. So, and a really nice addition to our first responders.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about the Kentucky Enterprise Park and its growth and seeing it really come to life. But because of the businesses that are locating there and the number of people that will be traveling the main access road now, we felt the need for an additional road.
Right. It had always been our intention to have a secondary access road for the park. So this road we did as a design build project, which I think is the first one we've done of that nature. And it will be located on US 23 south of the current access road at Longview Drive. And that project is under construction. Property acquisition is ongoing. The construction is occurring in the park, so you can't see it from US 23. But that project is scheduled to be completed in September 2020, but we're pushing really hard to get that done sooner.
Big things that we talk about, there's always change that goes on within the city employees and city government. We lost a couple of people within the city this year that we just had a great affection for, and they've moved on. And then we've hired some new people to come in. Let's start with Sean Cochran first, because we still kind of have him with Silverliner.
Sure. Sean has done a number of different jobs for the city, from tourism to events to his last position was Executive Director of Economic Development. And Sean was very good at all those jobs, and he deserves a lot of the credit for Interblue and Silverliner being here and the other development in town as well. But Sean had another opportunity at Silverliner, which was better for him, I understand, and we hated to see him go, but certainly understand why he left. But thankfully, we get to keep working with him.
We do. That's the thing. That's the plus side of it. Cindy Collins, we also lost her as director of the Expo Center. She moved on to Big Sandy Superstore Arena, which is closer to her home, obviously. But in her place, we have Paul Bowles now, who's fantastic.
Yeah, since Cindy's resignation, we hired Paul Bowles, who came to us from Salem, Virginia, at a very similar sized arena. A lot of good experience in a market of our size. So he's been a great addition at the Expo Center, has done a tremendous job since he's been in town, starting to build a lot of relationships and be more visible in the community. And additionally, we promoted Larry Miller from our Director of Operations position to the Assistant General Manager. Larry filled in on an interim basis and did a tremendous job and more than earned that promotion.
He is the one person that knows that building inside
He does,
and out.
he does. He's been there a long time.
Wealth of knowledge and great to work with. So congratulations to Larry. We have renamed a street, East Street, to Scotty Hamilton Way after the loss of our beloved officer, Scotty Hamilton. That's just outside the police department. So a lot of people love seeing that sign there as a tribute to him. And we hired 3 new police officers.
We did. Probably no departments have undergone more change in 2018 than our first responders. We hired 3 new police officers in the middle of the year. Nick Taylor and Austin King and Jamie Fields. Nick and Austin come to us from the Prestonsburg Police Department, and Jamie Fields was a commercial vehicle enforcement officer with the state police. So they've been on staff for a few months now, fitting in and doing a great job. So we're excited to have them.
Certainly are. Our fire department, Chief Ronald Kahn, been there for a number of years. He retired this year.
He did.
So we do have a new police chief, or fire chief, I should say.
Yeah, Ronald retired after many years of excellent service, and anytime you hate to see somebody with that experience go, but we wish him well in his retirement and congratulate him on that. After his retirement, the city really reorganized the entire command structure at the fire department. Patrick Bentley, who was a battalion chief, was selected as the new fire chief. Kenny Sampson, who was one of our fire lieutenants, is now the fire captain and the fire marshal. And then our 2 other fire lieutenants were promoted to battalion chiefs, Jamie Sparks and Kevin Miracle. And then Mitch Case, one of our firefighters, was promoted to battalion chief. And that structure is working really well. Filled some leadership positions that we desperately needed to fill. And the fire department is functioning very well. Great morale. Just
great group of people.
It is a great group of people.
It really is. Also, big congratulations to the city as selected as KLC City Government of the Year. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's the first year that award has been given. And so it's great to win the award anytime, but especially to be the first recipient of it. And that was based primarily on the city's economic development, commercial development, downtown development. The goal of that award was to recognize a city that had really undergone transformative change. And obviously, Pikeville has undergone transformative change. So we're very proud of that recognition and continue to work to reach new heights every day.
Absolutely. As we are running out of time, we do want to mention really quickly, because there's so much to talk about, tourism has a new app that you can download on your phone. And if I didn't mention that, Jimmy Taylor would be right on the phone to me. But it is a great app that tells you what's going on in the city. All you have to do is go to the App Store, download it right there. We had a lot of fun with it with Winterfest this year, and being able to, as he says, to geotrack the outside of the Winterfest area in the park. So that's a lot of fun. But also, our bond rating was upgraded. That's an amazing accomplishment.
That is an amazing accomplishment. The undergoing some bonding for our sewer plant at that time, went through a new bond upgrade or rating period, and Moody's, one of the rating agencies, increased our rating from A1 to AA3. And that was based primarily on the city's excellent financial health, low debt, the ability to pay our debt off in a short amount of time. So it's, that helps with interest rates, it helps with further borrowing. So it's really something to be proud of.
Yes, and we're going to end on a fantastic note. Lots to come in 2019. We are excited about the offerings that will come in the next 12 months. And you're going to be a busy guy, as is the commission and Jimmy and Minta and Andy and the whole bunch at the city.
That's right. We hope 2019 will be just as successful.
Certainly will. Philip, Happy New Year to you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
This has been the Pikeville City Managers Report. Thank you so much for joining us.